Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this panel of the conference. My name's Sean Marsh. I'm hosting this session, and it's certainly going to be very good when I'm absolutely convinced of that. We have a very special guest. In fact, we should have two. I'm just checking if Pawel is here, or whether he's still to log on. I'll catch up with Pawel when he arrives, but we are going to investigate the world of chess on YouTube. And I'm just about to introduce our very special guest. Not only is this gentleman a Grandmaster of Chess, is a very well-known presenter, started presenting on TV back in 1993 when the big match between Garry Kasparov and Nigel Short was actually live on TV in the UK, certainly, several times a day, which was a fantastic achievement. And Daniel King was a staunch member of the delivery team on that particular program. We've worked together many times. It's always a great pleasure to work with Daniel. He's a great gentleman. And the last time we worked together was at Google headquarters in London, when we were delivering all sorts of sessions to lots of very eager chess children. And I had the children absolutely convinced that Daniel King was so good at chess that they actually named one of the pieces after him. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to the great Grandmaster Daniel King.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the beginning and why I set up a channel. And so basically I set up the channel in 2012, and I did it for three reasons. One is because I'd had a series of DVDs with ChessBase. I've worked with ChessBase for many, many years. And I had this series of instructional DVDs, and I wanted to try and promote these. And hence the name of my YouTube channel is Power Play Chess, which is the name of this DVD series for ChessBase. So that's one reason I wanted to do it. The other reason was because, well, basically journalism. I started analyzing games from the World Championship match taking place at that time between Anand and Gelfand. And I thought it was a good idea to analyze those games, and the videos were featured on ChessBase News. So journalism, that's number two. And number three, simply to keep my profile out there in the chess world. I mean, for decades, I've been presenting on TV and doing live commentary at tournaments, and simply it was good to maintain my profile in the media. And at that time in 2012, it felt like YouTube was certainly sort of slightly unknown territory, at least for me. So it sort of led the way a little bit. And I honestly had no thought of this dreadful word monetizing, and you know, the amount of hours I put into it was, I mean, you know, I didn't really get monetary return from it at all. And actually, really, that's not why I set it up. So it was more the spin-offs. And I think for other people these days, it's very different, and it has changed a little bit for me as well. So that's why I set it up. And can I share screen? Sean, come back.
I'm just about to allow you to, sir.
Okay.
There, that should do it. Let me know if not.
Okay, well, let me try this and see what happens. So people can actually see what I'm talking about. Share screen. Okay, let's try that. So hopefully you can see that.
We can indeed, Daniel. That's excellent. Thank you.
Good. So you can see that basically I've got this really rubbishy design. It's cluttered. It's not very beautiful. It's sort of thrown together. I've got now, I don't know, it's something like 1,500 videos are up there. I've got something like, I think, 70,000 subscribers. at the moment, you know, some videos are more popular than others. You can see my latest one. I'm doing something on Wesley So, because obviously Wesley is in the news at the moment. I look at historical games. You know, I like going back and looking at, you know, Fisher Spassky. I mean, this is, you know, the era that I grew up in. And, you know, I go way back and look at earlier games as well. You know, I've been looking at some games by Bronstein recently. And, you know, well, you know, people can just click on this. Well, I'll just give you a little example. Here's, you know, something, whoops, there's an advert. Sorry, we've just got to get through that before we can play the video. That leads on to another topic.
Other screens are available.
Yeah, other screens are available. Sorry. So there we go. I've got a corny introduction and continuing my look at the games of Wesley So. And this game was suggested by one of my patrons, David Kerr. Thank you very much. Really happy to oblige, because this is a sparkling, attacking game full of beautiful tactics and, yeah, absolutely route one towards Black's King. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and do consider supporting us on Patreon or PayPal. Which leads me on to another subject, which is, as you can see, you know, I'm asking for donations via PayPal or Patreon. We can discuss that in a second. If I move the video on, you can see what I do. So basically, I'm analyzing a game. Let me just move on. And this video is round about. This is a relatively short video. It's about 12 minutes long. Other videos I do, you know, stretch to like 25 minutes. Sometimes, you know, I'm just rambling. It's more difficult to make a concise video. So, okay, you get the idea. Hang on, let me. Okay, stop share. There we go. So you get the idea. That's the channel. Sean, you're going to have to throw a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's lots that leads on from there. So
indeed,
that's basically my YouTube channel.
How long does it take you to make a video? Are there lots of sort of false starts and false takes and restarts and this sort of thing?
Yeah, let me see. I do the videos in one take. I don't edit them afterwards. I should say that I work together with a tech guy. I have a tech partner, and we own the channel together. I thought that was sensible from the beginning, because although, you know, I started it because, well, I gave you the reasons why I started it, but I felt that, you know, presenting is one of my fortes. So I'm confident about that, and I'm confident about the chess content, but tech is not my forte. You know, I should say that very plainly. I can do all this stuff. It takes me time. And I felt right from the beginning that it was actually much better and a more efficient use of my time if I concentrated on the chess content and the presenting, and leave all the tech stuff to somebody else. So that's why I enlisted a tech partner, and we work everything together. And basically, I film it, I upload it, and he, you know, does the rest with the rendering and uploading to YouTube, and, you know, some other bits and pieces. And for me, that works extremely well, because it's not just about the processing of the videos, but it's also you know, sorting out the site, and, you know, other stuff, making links with other people, that kind of thing. I thought it seemed like a very natural division of our labor, if you see what I mean.
It's very good.
So
very good.
Yeah, as far as the making videos goes, yeah, I do them in one take. you know, I'm used to that, and obviously it makes editing much easier. But it's all in the preparation. If you do something in one take, then you need to prepare well. And so usually I spend about 2 hours preparing a video, which might seem ludicrous to some of you, and it might seem like I've thrown it together. It probably looks like I've thrown it together in 5 minutes, but actually I prepare really thoroughly, and that's why I'm able to basically tell a story. For me, this is journalism. And, you know, that's how it was from the beginning. It's journalism. You know, I explain what I do at the start of the video, what people are going to see, and, you know, draw some conclusions at the end. And it is like an article in journalism, basically, or you know, a news report. It's, you know, that's how it is for me.
I will open up to questions later on, but
Sure.
I've got a few more for you at the moment, because it's a fascinating subject. But let's backtrack a little bit, back to 1993, when you appeared on the Channel 4 programs for the Kasparov short match.
Yeah.
Was that your first public presentation experience?
No, absolutely not. No. I mean, first of all, I should say that basically I was a professional chess player until, well, I would say, I mean, I've always, this is my problem. I've always done lots of different things, but basically I was a professional player until, I would say, the early 90s. But I had already, in 1990, I had done reports on the World Championship for Sky, actually. For actually, well, they were part of Sky. They were Eurosport, actually. And I live in West London, and the Eurosport at that time was part of Sky, and basically it's just a few miles away to go to the, you know, the Sky studios. So you know, I was very lucky in that sense that you know, I was sort of in the right place at the right time. So yeah, I started doing these kind of reports in 1990, actually, on the World Championship match then. So, you know, I have built up a lot of experience. And then, you know, when I was one of the commentators and presenters in 1993 on Channel 4, you know, I wasn't going into it blind at all. But really, I would say, although I continued playing chess professionally after that for a few years, then actually really media had taken over in the early 90s, you know, after 93. That was really my main focus, journalism and broadcasting, actually.
You're actually a stronger player than you're letting on, because I know some of your results are absolutely fantastic. For example, 2 wins against Viktor Korchnoi, I remember from our earlier interview. And I do recall you telling me that Viktor Korchnoi tried to leave the room without resigning properly, and you managed to corner him and force him to shake hands almost.
Yeah, that was one of them. On the other occasion, he managed to knock all the pieces off the board when he resigned.
We miss such characters, don't we? We miss such characters.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, I actually really like Viktor.
We all liked Viktor, yeah. Victor's
yeah, no,
fantastic.
he was absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
irreplaceable.
No, but you know, I'm not going to pretend that you know, I was an incredibly successful professional. I wasn't. I had some successes, but I think one of the things is I've always been very interested in doing lots of other things, actually, and I think this is my main problem now. I mean, if I can come back to the YouTube channel, I'm you know, a journalist, a broadcaster, a coach. I work for ChessBase. I work for Chessable. I have lots of interests, and I think this is one of my problems with the YouTube channel, that, you know, I feel like I could do a much better job if I had more time. I think, you know, if you want to make a successful YouTube channel, you know, you need to be uploading videos daily. I don't do that. I mean, when there's a big tournament, I do. But clearly, the algorithms on YouTube like it when you post as often as possible. And you know, there are times when, you know, I'm busy with other work. I've got family as well. You know, I have lots of demands on my time, which I like. But you know, as I said, I think if you want to be a successful YouTuber, don't do what I do. Think about, you know, the ones that are really successful. I mean, obviously Agad Mato, who is posting at least once a day, and others. And also think about your target market. You know, who do you want to reach? Well, basically, I decided from the beginning that I wanted to, how can I put it? I wanted to satisfy myself, actually. You know, I'm looking at these games because I'm interested myself in discovering what is actually going on in these games. And I mean, obviously, I'm condensing what I've looked at and putting it over in an accessible way. But basically, I want to look at these games myself and discover what's going on. Whereas others, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not, certainly not denigrating other channels. They put things over, you know, very at a much lower level, and I realize my level is higher, so I'm reaching an audience which is, let's say, club players and above, and that market is necessarily narrower, or that's just how it is. So yeah, if you want to make a lot of money from YouTube, don't do what I do, but post daily, and make it more tabloid. You know, have punchy, sensationalist titles. You know, look for scandals. Think tabloid newspapers and mass market.
This is the problem, isn't it? Because I always feel there's an enormous difference between making something accessible and dumbing something down. And this is the difference that most people now, when they're presenting anything, miss completely. And if you dumb something down, you're taking it to a very, very low level indeed. If you make something accessible, that is not the case whatsoever. You know, you're talking from a position of strength. You're a grandmaster. You understand chess better than probably anyone on this call. Well, or certainly anyone on this call, I'd have thought. Yet you somehow found a way to bring the message across, whether you're writing, presenting, teaching. I mean, apart from anything else, you're a top-class coach, which people don't necessarily realize when they see you on Chessbase and Chessable and writing books, you know, on various subjects.
Well,
and
that's very kind, Sean. But you know, speaking of YouTube, you know, it's clearly it's a balance, isn't it? About, you know, what you present, and I wanted to, yeah, I like I said, I think, you know, I wanted to do the things that I'm interested in. And of course, you know, I'm not going to be Puritan about this. You know, I would love it if I had 500,000 subscribers. But I've sort of found my niche, and for me, that's important, that I didn't want to go down the mass market route. I wanted to do something that I feel comfortable with. And, you know, some videos are more popular than others. You know, I did something on the Queen's Gambit, but I took my particular angle on it and looked at some of the chess. But I mean, thinking about how, you know, I pay for this, basically, because I invest a lot of time. I invest a stupid amount of time in it. Basically, you know, as you can see from the channel, let me just share screen again very quickly, because, you know, we need to talk about funding. This is important. And
yeah, that's the next.
For others that get into this, you know, I think you need to understand what the issues are, basically. So let me share screen again and just go back to the channel very quickly. And of course, I can't see it. That's great. It's not giving me the option. Just one moment, folks.
Absolutely, and just to keep people informed, I'm aware we're getting lots of questions in the chat facility, which I will come on to next. Once Daniel shared his screen with this particular piece, we'll turn to the questions in the chat.
Yeah,
and
okay.
then I've got plenty more questions myself, and we will open it up towards the end for anyone to chip in and actually say things.
Very good. Okay, just so let me just share the screen again, and I will just get out of that. So you can see that basically, I ask for donations. And that really does, without people donating, I would not be able to invest the time that I do in the channel. So I ask for people to make one-off donations via PayPal, or also sign up to Patreon. And I think this is quite an important thing. And you can see here, there's links to Patreon and PayPal. And if I go to, hopefully you can see this. So Patreon, I mean, if you're not, I mean, I'm sure many of you are aware of what Patreon is. It's basically a kind of crowdfunding scheme, patreon.com. So I've set up there, and I ask for people to make a monthly contribution. And it's basically Patreon is for creators. They could usually video creators, but you can have illustrators there, for example. But for example, if people pay, well, here it says $4.50 or $5 a month, then they'll get a newsletter, they'll get an extra video, things like that. If they contribute $10 a month, then yeah, more extra videos. And then if they contribute $25 a month, they get an opening survey, which is about a half-hour video where I discuss a currently topical line for a opening variation, for example. So you can see there are levels of contributions, and the more you pay, the more you get. And that has basically kept the thing afloat. I'm not going to say that this is fantastically profitable. That's the route I've taken is not the mass market view, but because I have very loyal supporters, actually, and I've created this niche, this community, and that's kept me going. But as you can see, I offer rewards, I call them benefits, according to how much people contribute per month. And I don't get a huge number, but it's basically worth it. And of course, I should say that the other way of the other income stream I have is via adverts. I'm afraid we had to suffer the advert at the front of the video. And so I get some income from advertising. But as you can see with my numbers, at the moment, I mean, on average, each video gets something like 10,000. I mean, for the really popular ones, they might got 20,000. I mean, some really popular ones, then 50,000. I mean, these numbers are nothing compared to other YouTubers. But obviously, the more, the greater the number, then you get more advertising revenue. But for these numbers, it's not huge. I get more from donations and from Patreon. And Patreon, what I like about Patreon is that I'm able to engage even more with people and the community. And that's actually really nice. I know it sounds very corny, but I have created this community of people from around the world. And it's really nice to hear what they're interested in. So, for example, I did a poll recently for my patrons on patreon.com. And I said, okay, so where do you want me to go next? What do you like? And I found that actually one of the most popular things on my channel for my patrons was looking back at historical games. So, there were lots of requests to have, more on Fischer, Spassky, and Bronstein, and, Keres. And now you can see that that's a real niche. And those videos on the mass market are not going to get me, the 500,000 views. But that's what my little community would like. And frankly, those are the ones that keep the channel afloat in terms of income. So you can see there's a real balance I have to find, but I found a niche, basically.
I like that very much because you are catering for a niche audience, and this I think is reflected in all of your work. For example, your magnificent book on Sultan Khan for New in Chess that came out this year is another niche market. And you could have made a lot more, presumably, writing a book about the Sicilian defense or the Berlin defense or something like this. And it seems to me the research you put into that book must have been absolutely enormous, and it must have taken absolutely years, burying yourself in old newspapers in the British Library, for example, week in, week out was fantastic. I don't want to get too much off topic, but I'm just saying that's reflected to me. It reflects from all of your work that you go the extra mile for something that not only interests you, but you are catering for genuine fans of chess and chess history as well.
Yeah, I try hard. That's what you say. I try hard, Sean.
Some of us are noticing. Some of us are noticing, and we're not afraid to say it. So
I try hard.
Yeah.
I fail again. I fail better each time.
Yeah, I've not noticed any failure at all, sir. Now we've got some questions in the chat here. We've got a question from Andreas, who says, "Daniel, what program do you use?"
What program to use? Well, I mean, there's a few things. For when I'm recording my videos, then I'm using a combination of chess-based software and also OBS, Open Broadcast System, or whatever it is, whatever OBS stands for. OBS, it's like one of these things. You just say it. So yeah, I use those, and have a pretty normal camera and lights and stuff.
You don't have makeup assistants and things running around after you all day long?
Of course I do, Sean. It's the only reason I do it.
Of course. We've got a question from the ever-reliable Tim Wall. It says, "Daniel, do you find the short 2 to 3 word snazzy titles help to increase viewership? E.g., Bomb Cloud, Immortal, LOL." I think that's him commenting on his own little comment there. With the LOL.
Hi, Tim. Yeah, listen, I'm not a Puritan about this, and if you have a snappy title, then it's like it's a tabloid headline. But it's funny, for some of my community, they went, "What are you doing with these rubbishy tabloid titles?" And I say, well, actually the content is the same. The content is, I haven't changed that. I'm not dumbing down the content. But if it helps to get the videos noticed, then yeah, occasionally I'll put some kind of stupid title. It's still most of them, compared to some of the others, it's pretty straight, but yeah, to be honest, I have a kind of I mean, I want to grow my audience, obviously, but I don't think it has that much influence, actually.
Yeah,
that's my feeling. I think I could do much better by simply posting daily, posting more often.
You are quite a busy man, though.
But this is the thing, I simply don't have time to do it. I don't want to just be a YouTuber. I think also, you hear these stories of YouTube burnout. These vloggers that basically, they do this for years, and after a bit they just kind of get fed up with it. I don't want this to be my main source of income. I would love it if I earned a bit more, thank you. I live in London, I've got bills to pay, I've got a family. I'm not going to be Puritan about this, but it's a balance.
Absolutely. Now, another question from Tim on the subject of chess content and delivering content to the masses, if you like. He says, what do you think actually works better to share content? YouTube, podcasts, anything? What is the best method to reach the masses with chess communication? Well, yes, I was going to lead on to that, because I'm just producing videos and I don't go in for streaming. And of course, it's something I've considered. And when you look at the success of, say, Hikaru Nakamura and others who are mainly into streaming, and that's not actually something I wanted to go down. Again, I see these streamers who, they're playing bullet chess and whatever, and
and I'm simply not interested in that at all. You know, I'm a journalist. Basically, that's what it comes down to, or at least that's one of the hats I wear. And I don't want to. I have no interest in playing bullet chess online, or, you know, showing cuddly toys or something like that. It's not my thing. So I mean, I think this is just, you know, the audience you go for. And, you know, I'm not 22 years old. Just, you know, that's I don't know if you realize that.
It comes as a big surprise to me.
Exactly. And you know, I'm looking at the audience here today, and I don't see, forgive me for saying so, I don't see many 22-year-olds. You know, I'm looking at a different audience, but you know, it's generational. You know, my kids laugh at me that I'm you know, doing stuff on YouTube. They think it's hilarious. You know, I'm too old for this. And I think streaming, I think it's another generation, and the kind of the way that you have to put things across, and I don't feel comfortable with that, actually, if you want to be really successful. I mean, I have had, I stopped them this year, actually. Basically, I've just been too busy, but I was doing YouTube Hangouts where I would go online for about an hour. And actually, I kind of enjoyed them because that was very direct interaction with my audience, you know, live interaction. And, you know, I'd show some games and stuff and just answer lots of questions. But, oh, I'm being brought another cup of tea. Fantastic. Thank you very much. There you go, Sean. Service.
Yeah,
It's all
I
in the
know.
service.
We've seen the real story, and all these Patreon contributions go towards the keeping of your staff, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. The makeup artists are going to be running in and powdering my substantial nose any moment.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at this. We've got some more questions here. A question from Vince, who says, Daniel, for your YouTube channel, you have both pre-recorded videos and also the occasional Google Hangout.
Yeah.
How would you characterize the differences from a creator's point of view between the interactive format and the pre-recorded? That's a very good question.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, you know, continuing what I was just talking about, really, that the Google Hangout, is, I mean, it's more spontaneous, and I'm able to answer questions. But actually, I basically do prepare a show as well. So, you know, I present positions and games and go through those. And so I structure it. Again, I don't know why I bother sometimes preparing stuff. Probably, you know, too much. And then people ask me lots of questions. So you can be more spontaneous, and it's just great to have that contact with the audience. Did I think I answered that. Yeah, pre-recorded, basically I put in actually more preparation, and it's more concise so that I'm telling a proper story. Whereas with going on, you know, doing a YouTube Hangout, you could be more spontaneous.
Absolutely. A question from Alex Longson. Good morning, Alex. It's good to see you here. Question for Daniel. Is the majority of your channel income from recurring subscriptions or one-off subscriptions?
Hi, Alex. Hope you're doing well, and the family. It from recurring subscriptions. So that's Patreon. So people pay monthly contributions. And that's the majority of my income. You know, the one-offs, they're very nice, but basically, you know, it's those people, you know, paying $2 a month, and it's really helpful.
That's good. And from Eric, we have an interesting question. Is there someone who is an example for you regarding YouTube chess? Someone you look up to, someone you find inspiration from, perhaps?
Well, like I said, I kind of made it up as I went along, and I found my own niche, and I found, you know, what I'm comfortable with. And, you know, having 70,000 subscribers these days is not a success when you see others. But I'm comfortable with that. Who do I look up to? Or who do I take something from? I'm struggling here because like I said, I've gone my own way. I really do.
Another question here, and it's not quite about YouTube, but it's an interesting question to ask you anyway, and it's from Omar, who's asked lots of interesting questions this weekend. Said, Mr. King, I'm a big fan of your How Good Is Your Chess article in Chess Magazine, as are we all. Can you speak of the history of the article, i.e. how it started, how you keep finding interesting games, etc.?
Yeah, How Good Is Your Chess? I started writing this monthly column in, I think it was January 1991. And I've been writing this every month since then. It's crazy. I can't believe it. It's funny. When I first started it, I thought, oh, this is a bit of fun. And then after about 5 years, I thought this is a bit of a drudge. And now it's come completely full circle, and I really enjoy writing it. It sounds crazy, even though it's kind of a bit of stability in my life. Once a month, I write this article. How did it start? I think I started doing it I can't remember. Leonard Barden was doing it years and years ago. And I think various people have done it, back in the 60s and 70s. And I honestly can't remember. I think Murray Chandler asked me to do it. Was he the editor of a magazine at that point? I honestly can't remember. But yeah, I really like it. And actually finding good games, or not good games, suitable games, where there's a kind of logical flow and there aren't too many mistakes and it's a kind of perfect game, that's quite difficult actually. But I'm used to it now over the years.
I think it's a fantastic achievement. It must take a very long time to write articles such as that, because you can't just write those over lunchtime because they're so involved.
No, it takes me a long time.
Yeah.
Again, I put too much effort into it. I'm foolish. Yes, as Tim says, they were in Chess Magazine in the 1970s. Yeah, absolutely. And possibly old, going back earlier, I'm pretty sure that Leonard was doing them. I know Leonard Barden produced a book, How Good Is Your Chess, in the possibly 1960s.
You're right. It was a Dover edition, wasn't it? And you still get the Dover one, and that certainly used those articles. We have about 12 minutes left, and I'd like to open it up now to general questions. If anyone wants to just unmute themselves and fire away at Daniel, we'll see how that goes.
I can see a question here concerning the playing strength of your audience. What range are you aiming for usually? Below 1,500, 1,500 to 2,000? I mean, I would say, I find it really hard to put a number on it, but I'd basically say club players and above. Or it could just be casual players and above. I mean, I know friends who don't really know very much about chess at all, who get something from my videos.
Anybody else going to unmute themselves and shout out a question?
Or you can just stick it in the chat.
Stick in the chat.
Either way is fine. Now.
Yeah. Got more coming from Tim. Tim says Murray Chandler asked me to write one in 3 hours. Is that true, Tim? 3 hours? A chess player working for 3 hours, that's a novelty.
Yeah, that's good old Murray. Takes me a lot longer than 3 hours.
How about the balance you find working across several different companies, really? You've got your own YouTube channel, you've got the chess-based DVDs, which are very highly rated and never ever disappoint at all. And then you're working for Chessable doing courses. You did one with Sarah very recently, Sarah Longson, which was excellent. How do you find drifting between the three things, and in terms of the visual contact of chess?
I mean, basically, I've worked for ChessBase since 1988. When I was in 88, I was living in Germany and started working for them then. So I have this long-standing relationship with ChessBase. And so, I have always kept good contact with them. However, recently, I wanted to try and reach a different audience, and that's why I started working with Chessable. But actually, I've remained very loyal to Chessbase over these years. But I wanted to, yeah, expand my audience. I thought it was only sensible, and particularly as Chessable is, growing. So yeah, so I started doing. So yeah, it's. Certainly don't have. I'm not exclusive, but it just seemed sensible to do that.
Does that ever cause trouble with the various companies saying, hey, how come you didn't do this one for us?
Yeah, of course. I'm careful to negotiate and just be very open with them and say exactly what I'm doing. That's just really important.
Got more questions in the chat here. Do you recommend people to start a channel now? Because there is so much choice in chess online. How to stand out? If someone started one now,
Yeah.
how would you recommend that they make some sort of impression in this massive world of information?
Well, I think you have to decide why you want to start a channel. I think that's the thing. Like I said at the beginning, my reasons for starting a channel were clear. It was actually journalism. So I started, and I could use the videos and basically sell them to Chess-Based News. Gave me a little bit of income to raise my profile and to promote my DVD series. Those were the three reasons I started the channel. So I think you have to find what is your reason for starting a channel. Do you want to make a lot of money? Fine, go down the tabloid route and go for a mass market and do things with cuddly toys and go for a mass market audience. So the question, do I recommend people to start a channel? I can't answer. You have to find your motivation for doing it. But absolutely, there are so many people now doing things. And you have to decide, do you want to be a YouTube channel or do you want to be a chess streamer? And those are different things. And it might be more profitable to be a chess streamer these days.
Is that something you might move into yourself?
No, it's not really my thing. Like I said, I think it's a different kind of audience and a different style, and it's not really my thing. But yeah, I think, Eric, when you say how does one stand out in that market, you find a niche somehow. You might find a particular angle. But I think you have to look at it like any other media. How does a newspaper stand out in old media? When a new newspaper comes into the market, how do they stand out? Do they concentrate on sports? Do they look into politics? Are they a tabloid? Are they a broadsheet newspaper? Are they boulevard presse? That's what you have to decide basically. What are your motivations? How much time do you want to put into it, and how do you stand out?
Thank you very much. And a question from Philippe. Should any chess federation have a YouTube channel for the news items? Is it something chess federations should be making more use of, do you think, YouTube channels?
Yeah. Chess federations have the problem that they are old power. And there is new power, basically. Social media is new power. And, so you have these old institutions like federations, and they are, I'm not going to say undermined, but they're being kind of taken over by new power, social media. And I think, that is something, and social media is very fast moving, is direct, and people can get opinions out there very quickly, as we know. And federations are old institutions, and that is a problem. And it could be a way for old institutions like federations to connect with people better by using streaming or YouTube channel. But yeah, this is the classic problem in politics, in society, of new power against old power. And new power is fast and direct.
That's very interesting. Thank you. Question from Wolfgang. who says, "Your rather good knowledge of German stands you in very good stead, and you've actually published in German also." It said, "What is the percentage of your foreign language publishing across your various media?"
I'm not really sure. I don't know. I mean, I've a few of my books have been translated into German, but yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's quite small. It's quite small.
Have you done any YouTube presentations in German?
No, but I do for all my chess-based DVDs, I record them in English and German. So right. Obviously that helps.
Yes. Any further questions from anybody? Oh, from Andreas. Do you use Layla and AI to analyze games?
No. I mean, obviously, when I'm analyzing a game, then of course, I run it by a chess machine. I mean, not particularly machine learning. It's not, I'm not going into that kind of depth. But of course, I check the games with an engine. But I think for me, this is quite interesting because what I can do as I'm going to say a former professional player is that I can understand what a good move looks like from a human point of view. And sometimes, an engine will recommend a move which is simply inhuman. And I would say, so for me, that kind of the tension between the two is quite interesting. So, sometimes I'll say, look, in this position, the computer recommends this move. But frankly, I'm not surprised that this move was rejected, probably seen, but rejected, because it looks so impractical. And so, that's where I can use my expertise. Whereas weak players would go, Carlsen missed a really good move. Whereas I would just look at this move and say, he's never going to play that because you don't weaken yourself in that way. You just wouldn't do that. So that's how I can use my expertise. It's not just, anyone can use a computer.
Yeah. How about the projects you've got ongoing at the moment? Are you allowed to tell anything about what you may have in the pipeline for your own YouTube channel, for Chessbase or Chessable?
Yeah, I'm actually, I mean, having talked about how good is your chess, this article that I've been writing in traditional print media for many, many years, this has been finally converted into the digital media. So, I've already produced one course for Chessable, How Good Is Your Chess? And I'm at the moment in the middle of filming another How Good Is Your Chess for Chessable, a follow-up. So it felt like it was about time that it came into the digital age, basically.
But you're sticking with the printed version also, presumably?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No, I mean, as I said, I really enjoy doing that.
Question from Ace. Any plans in extending the Power Play series for Chessbase, presumably?
Well, it's just kind of an ongoing project. At some point, I'll be recording more. I produced a couple more things this year, but for the moment, yeah, I mean, Jesus, sorry, my plate is very full.
I didn't know you were religious, sir.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay. On the subject of your YouTube channel, which YouTube presentations have reached the most audience? You can tell by the viewing figures, the hit figures, if you like. Which ones have reached out the most and been the most attractive to viewers?
Actually, the ones on AlphaZero were incredibly popular, and of course, somehow no surprise, because this whole story reaches an audience which goes broader than the traditional chess community. So, I think that's a good tip. If you want to reach, a big audience, try and find something that connects with people outside the chess world, basically.
That's a good one. And a very important point of that one is there's been lots of books about computers and computer chess and that genre. But it takes something special to bring the subject alive. And I think with AlphaZero and the Game Changer book by Matthew Sadler and Natasha Regan, was such a readable book, such an accessible book. Again,
Yeah.
without dumbing things down, it could have been very dry, it could have been very dull, it could have been very unattractive, but in fact, it was exactly the opposite. And of course, it was Book of the Year in that particular year. So, and you know, with your presentations, you're bringing it alive a little bit further. So, it's no surprise that that probably would be the one of the biggest hitters. How about when you do works on historical aspects of chess? You know, you mentioned Kerry's and Geller and people like this earlier on. Do they attract much traffic on your YouTube channel?
Like as I said, these are I found a niche audience for those, but no, these are not the ones that have huge numbers. Which is a pity, but like I said, my loyal following, my patrons really like the historical games and they like the stories behind them, and that's something that I've always been very, very interested in. Well, you can see that's by the way, that's only a tiny fraction of the books in my library. Actually this whole room is kind of surrounded by books. And actually, when I was growing up playing chess and starting out, I loved reading about chess history and the extraordinary stories, and which is obviously part of chess culture, and I still really enjoy that, and so I'll definitely continue doing those, and in between, obviously I'm reporting on the big tournaments of the day, so that the latest Skilling Open, then of course I was doing daily videos for those. But actually in between, I rather enjoy looking back at historical games, and recently, because of Wesley's success, then I've been looking at some of his past games. But I do go back much further as well. So I will continue with the historical games, even though sadly they don't reach a mass market.
That is sad in a way, isn't it? Because it's almost losing our culture. There was a time, I'm from a generation where if we tried to learn something, it had to be through books, certainly for chess, and nothing else was available. There wasn't the internet when I was a lad and this sort of thing. But and this is presumably it's almost a dying art where people buy a collection of games for someone like Geller or Kerry's, even people like Korchnoi, and it's sad really, but I suppose it's just a sign of the changing times.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's dying out. There is an audience which is still really attracted to looking at the chess history. It's there. I think this is the thing about the internet. You can find an audience. If you have an interest, you will find somewhere, build up a community. And that's what I've done. I don't, like I said, I don't have a huge following. 70,000 subscribers is nothing these days, but I have a very loyal community, and I'm really, really grateful to them for basically keeping it going. Let me just, I can see some of the questions down here.
Yeah.
From Thad Rogers. Hi there, Thad. What do I think of some of these bots? I don't really know anything about those, actually. Am I working on any other books like Sultan Khan? No, I'm not at the moment. I'm not working on other books at the moment, but if some interesting story presents itself, then I might do some research. But no, for the moment, I have too much on my plate to look at other stuff at the moment.
One last question. We need to wind down just after one more question, and it was the impact of the Queen's Gambit show on Netflix. Has that had an impact on your viewing figures on YouTube?
Not especially, no. Like I said, I'm not looking for I think that the mass market is not particularly interested in my channel. Like I said, I'm more a warning of how not to be successful. Let me just take another question here. Okay, it's an interesting question. Do you know your audience? Demographics, playing strength? Yeah, I think that's really important, actually. Of course, YouTube provide demographics, so I can see exactly where my audience is. I can see what age range I'm reaching, and that's very, very useful, or just really interesting to see. So that, the top 3 countries that I reach it's really consistent. So number 1 is the States, number 2 is Germany, and number 3 is the United Kingdom, in that order. And that is absolutely consistent and has been practically since the beginning. So for me, that's very interesting to see that, well, you know, Germany is always number 2, and I have a strong following there. I haven't yet done videos in German, but probably I should consider it.
Maybe you should after the comments we've had today. We need to wind down now because there's a limit on how many Zoom sessions we can have going on this conference. But I'm sure the audience will agree this has been a fascinating chat with you, Daniel. And I know we've gone beyond the scope of talking merely about YouTube, which I think is a good thing because he's such a fascinating character with an enormous breadth of history involved with chess in your many guises and wearing your many hats. So it's been fascinating to explore a lot of those. And we've averaged 74 people throughout the entirety of this call. And hopefully a percentage of those will become donators to your Patreon YouTube channel and at least spread the word. I mean, these panels are being recorded, so hopefully we'll reach an even wider audience. And if just a small percentage of those people became your Patreon people, I'm sure that would make a big difference to your channel.
Well, thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I feel very flattered, actually. But like I said, I don't feel like I'm a big success.
You don't see what we see, though. That's the thing.
Okay.
Your makeup artist does, and the person who brings you the tea does, but you don't see it yourself. That's the problem.
Okay, listen. Also, jemand hat gesagt, also Anna hat gesagt, mehr deutsche Videos. Ja, vielleicht.
Lost the sound there for a second. Anyway, that's it for everybody. Thank you very much indeed. We'll see you on some of the other panels and sessions. Thank you. And thank you especially to Daniel, of course.